Fighters who were exposed at UFC 301. Nobody is safe from my wrath today. I'm going to be exposing both winners and losers from this card. There's going to be no dilly-dallying. We're getting right into it. First one up is Jose Aldo. How was he exposed? Well, he's exposed for the post-USADA comeback, looking very similar to the pre-USADA performances for Jose Aldo. TRT Aldo? Come on, don't lie to yourself. You all see it. You all thought the same thing. At 37, looking faster than he's looked in half a decade? That's not sensible. That's not possible unless there's a little cocktail of secret juices being mixed in. At 37, to me, this looks like 32-year-old Jose Aldo. He looked amazing. And I'm not taking away from the performance, because as long as he's passing the new UFC drug testing, no problem here with me. He comes back after 2 years out, and he looks bigger and leaner than ever before. He looked a lot more like his 145-pound self than he did at 35 in the previous matchups. USADA was removed from the UFC for business reasons, guys. Don't fall into the delusion of thinking they were just kicked out because the contract was over and maybe they didn't like the style of testing. No. Drug testing and fighting on the minimal is better for the fighters, the fights, and the fans, because more PEDs in the mix, unfortunate to say, makes better fighters, better fights, and happier customers. The UFC is a business. Dana White sells it on the holy shit moments. Well, guys taking a little sazul of something leads to a lot more holy shits than not. And you can see it right here. Jose Aldo carried more power than I had ever seen at him from 135. He seemed faster than he ever looked before at 135. He was smoother on the feet than he ever was at 135. When I thought of 135 Aldo, I thought he was decent. But the way he looked against Jonathan Martinez, he might be fighting for the belt again at 38. USADA's gone. TRT Aldo era has commenced. It is not as impressive as the TRT Vitor Belfort, though. Like, I'm not, saying it's to that tier of savagery. But Jose Aldo's got a home brew going. Maybe he's got some Brazilian pharmacist creating some magic for him, because the comeback, the rebirth, it looks like he's found the fountain of youth. And I don't think that happens naturally. You don't tend to get better with age unless you add in something else. Let's keep running, because I got more fighters to expose on this card. The next one is going to be Vitor Petrino. They say big muscles equals small brain. Well, Petrino, thank you for backing the definition of this stereotype. We really appreciate it, okay? Blast double leg into a guillotine, then holding Smith up in the air and allowing him to get it tighter, and then trying to slam him on the ground like we're fighting on concrete. Low IQ fight move. This was completely avoidable. The fact that he shot a sloppy double leg like that on Anthony Smith, it's an embarrassment. He should have shot a single leg. Maybe even just tied up with him in the clinch, garnered some time, and looked to just elevate. Instead, he shoots the sloppy double, neck just sitting out there. And yeah, Anthony Smith has plenty of submission wins. He's pretty good at BJJ. We know he's a threat with submissions. And when you give him his neck, he's going to take advantage of it. Petrino's fight IQ seems like it's teetering below 70. I'll give him a 68, but with hopes of improvement with age, because he is only 26. He's a baby as far as the UFC light heavyweight division goes. But damn, he looked dumb this Saturday. Very dumb move, falling into the veterans guillotine like that. I'm a fan of Petrino, and I didn't want to have to include him, but no punches are being held. I'm exposing everybody that deserves to be exposed. Me being a fan of him ain't holding nothing back. He looked like an idiot out there. People were saying fixed fight. I liked the idea of that for the comedic effect, but there was no fixed fight in this one. It was Vitor Petrino, negative fight IQ, shooting in like a moron. He would have been better off swinging wild punches and flailing his arms. And to be honest, with how Anthony Smith was looking on the feet, if he would have just swung wild for the fences, he probably would have knocked him out. I hope Petrino rights these wrongs because I have faith in him. He's an absolute Brazilian savage Chad. But this moment here, fumble, Dumbo moment, questionable fight IQ, 68 at best. But we'll hope that he spends a little time maybe outside of the gym and more time studying techniques in film. Because I think that he has the physical tools to be a top 5 guy. But mentally, he seems top 25. I'm hoping that he corrects some wrongs because at the very least, getting tapped like this, we know there's opportunities of getting better in certain areas. Like, hey, just don't shoot a sloppy double leg from the outside with your neck out. And honestly, he's probably taking home a first-round knockout win. So, Vitor Petrino, get your shit together, my man, because I still want to see you in the top 10. And I'm not done hoping. Next up to the bat. Oh, this one's great. Paul Craig. Oh my. His only striking training comes from cardio kickboxing classes at the YMCA. He needs to get out of the gi, get off of the mats, and start working some striking because he has somehow gotten worse at boxing over his UFC career. It makes Ronda Rousey's striking look good. It's a shame. I'm embarrassed for him. He looked like he never boxed a day in his life. You get a kid off the street to box with Paul Craig, and let's say the kid's not too small, because Paul Craig's a real tall guy, so if you give him a guy 5'4", he might just brutalize him with size. You give him a guy 6 foot, a $190, maybe a kid that's been in a couple street fights, and they say, listen, just punches. I think Paul Craig's probably getting knocked out if this guy's got any bit of skill. You don't need any amateur boxing experience. A couple backyard boxing matches, and your level's above Paul Craig. I've seen better hands on Sesame Street than I did this Saturday with Paul Craig. He's one of the worst boxers in UFC history. And I feel like there's guys out there that coach that can improve these skills. What are we doing? Are we sticking with grappling only? He only does gi training? Gi training, and he's taking Taekwondo classes at the strip mall down the street. Paul Craig, kicks, no takedowns, guard pulls. If you don't want to strike, fine. At least put a wrestling singlet on. Let's work on some takedowns. It was horrendous. I was getting secondhand embarrassment from it. Pulling guard in 2024 MMA is not the move. It's never the move. It's an embarrassment in the modern era. He dropped down to 85 after some success at 205. He was always ranked. Always chinny, always sloppy on the feet. Maybe a move to heavyweight next, because this 185 experiment, I think, is a failed experiment. And he's wasting this time cutting weight where he could probably be similarly ranked in the UFC heavyweight division, just slightly outside of that top 15. Takes on some guys with no jiu-jitsu. Maybe he lands a trip takedown. Maybe he pulls guard and he just gets beat up from top. But I want to find out. So I am proposing Paul Craig to the heavyweight division. Let's find out. USADA's gone, Paul Craig. There's no excuse now. Get yourself a little more mass, get a little thicker, work on the wrestling a little, and get a boxing coach. No more Taibo, okay? No more Taibo, no more YMCA. Go to a real boxing gym. He needs to learn how to throw punches because to be this far into the UFC run and not having any bit of hands, some of the worst hands I've ever seen, I think Chuck Liddell off the couch is laying out Paul Craig in a boxing match. That's how bad it looked. So, Paul, let's step it up, my man. You're better than this. You're better than this. Let's keep running. We got more. Next one. I'm going to be a little sweeter with this one. Michel Pereira. Wait, how is he exposed? He looks amazing. Yeah, he's exposed for wasting all our time fighting at 170 when he was way better at 85 and could have already been probably top 5 if he would have been here earlier. Instead, he's sucking everything out of him, losing all the weight that he can, absolutely draining the hell out of himself to fight at 170 and look, lack that same sting, gas out late in fights. Great move to go up to 85. And imagine if he would have made this type of run just starting a UFC career. Imagine they signed him now. He was at 185 now, right out the gate. Wins his first 3 fights in the fashion that he's won his last 3 at 185. He'd be marketed as the next Brazilian superstar. I don't know how he ever made 170. That doesn't make sense. He doesn't have a 70s frame. 85ers should all be terrified because this guy right here has the speed that you rarely see at 55 and the athleticism that you definitely don't see at 70 and especially not 85. And it's rare at 55 too, but he's got the power of a guy at light heavyweight. This dude's terrifying. I want to see him against a top 15 opponent. If he doesn't fight a ranked opponent next, I swear to you, it's because he'd rather just beat unranked bums and collect big checks with all these performance bonus wins he's getting instead of looking to make a run for the belt. Because right now, from what I've seen of Michel Pereira, is somebody that could fight for a world title. Give him Fluffy next. I think he stops the takedown and lays Fluffy out in the first round. So I think this right here was at least a positive exposure. Michel looked incredible. Next one. We're exposing one more. Bonfim. Bonfim. You're exposed for being feather-fisted. He was advertised as a Brazilian knockout artist. He doesn't have power. He wings shots, but they don't have any pop. He's got nice striking, but nothing near the level of like a Mike Tyson. The hype when he came in was this dude was going to be laying people out. He's got good kickboxing. He's calculated. He's technical. He's a mid-tier guy at best. I don't care that Vince Pichel hadn't been knocked out clean with a punch on his feet throughout his entire career. The way that Bonfim was throwing these shots, there was no chance he was getting a KO. He's a tip tapper. He's a mover, and he's slick. Maybe he jumps a knee in your face and lays you out like he did Terrence McKinney, but that's a 1 in 1 million type of strike. Bonfim is a quality striker that doesn't have power. So as he meets some of these other guys that can strike and crack, I think you're going to see him crumble, and he's probably going to take some knockout losses here moving in to 2025. I don't know. I think in 2024, we give him one more easy layup. They're going to give him somebody else. Pichel was 41. Pichel hadn't been consistent fighting in a long time. This was a give-me fight. And yeah, he went out and won a dominant decision, and he has showed good skills. I'm not taking away from the technical kickboxing. Yes, it's there. He can kickbox technically, but he's got feather fist. He's got feather fist, and that's the truth. He's got no power in his hands, and he also drops his rear hand as he throws the lead hand. So if you think about betting on him in the future against a guy with a little bit of sting in his hands, keep your eyes on that. Because, like, imagine he fights somebody like a Drew Dober. Bonfim's turtling up. He's getting laid out. I'm exposing all of them. These were the guys that got exposed from UFC 301. They were the ones that unfortunately had to meet their maker and had to get some heavy heat drawn on them. Now, Michel Pereira was a positive thing. So something to note with this Every Fighter Exposed series is at times I will be positive. But a lot of it is going to be me digging into these guys because negative things have to be said sometimes. And I had some hot takes today that I wonder if you guys saw for yourself and agreed with. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of everything I had to say. Let me know how you like this series. This is my second episode of this series. I'm doing it for all the major UFC cards. That includes the big fight night cards as well, but especially numbered cards. The pay-per-views, absolutely. So keep it locked in right here at the MMA Experts channel. Much love, everybody. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you for more. Peace out.